Hi, I'm Michael Williams, and welcome to the inaugural issue of NGCOA's Advocacy Angle. I'm your host, Michael Williams, along with our co-host, Ronnie Miles, who is the Director of Advocacy at NGCOA. Many of you know him already through your work with him and his August work for the industry. This is a great new podcast. This is our opportunity to bring that which we think is most important to you, the issues, the topics that most affect the golf world, the operations of golf courses. I'm very excited about doing this. I know you are too, Ronnie. You've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Yeah, I have, and thank you, Michael. It's great to be with you today. As you said, hopefully over time we'll have various speakers really talking about issues that impact our industry. Today we have a few that I'll be talking about, and the first we'll talk is what's on my plate. What's happening right now is really getting us really started for our National Golf Day event. And National Golf Day this year will be held April 30th through May 2nd in Washington, D.C. Again, our host hotel again is the DoubleTree Crystal City. So we invite and urge everyone to, if you haven't registered, to do so. We have limited number of rooms. But it's a great host site, and we encourage everyone to make their reservations. If you haven't, if you want to go to the coalition's website, you can go to golfcoalition.org/National Golf Day. And there you can find your registration. You can get your hotel reserved, everything right there on that site. It's all in one place. So I encourage everyone to get registered so we know how many people we're going to have in DC. Last year we had over 200 people, and we think we'll have more than that this year. So it's looking good. As part of the event opening on Wednesday, April 30th, is when we really kick it off. We'll have a guest speaker. A couple of guest speakers are working on lining up for that. In addition to the guest speakers, we will have our issue training training our attendees on what are the issues we're taking to the Hill. And I'll talk about that in a second, but this will be then followed by, especially for those first-time members, attendees, they will be grouped with their other attendees from their state. So they'll go over their meetings for the following day and kind of get them ready to be comfortable to become lobbyists themselves. So it'll be a busy day on Wednesday afternoon, and we hope everyone will be there, and we will be there in force, as we say. That's the big thing.
I got to ask because I was at the first, I said 5 or 6 National Golf Days, and then it was about really letting people know how big golf was. People thought it was a niche, but people have in the time since been very good about advocating for the industry and letting people know just how big of an industry it is. And I know that the focus has changed somewhat over the course of the years. What's going to be your focus this year? What do you really want to tell the people on Capitol Hill about golf?
Well, obviously, we will talk about our philanthropic side of our industry, how much money we do give back to our communities. But we'll have issues that really we want to talk about that impact our operations, impact our programs, impact our customers. Some of those issues that we will be looking at, obviously, one of the top of our list is having to do with our modernizing the tax code. We'll be asking our members to support this bill. As a matter of fact, the bill is supposed, it was filed last year, and because of the year end, it has to be refiled again this year. So we're expecting it to be filed next week, which we're happy to get an update on that today. So this is very important because this would remove golf from what we refer to as the sin list that prohibits golf from participating in economic development programs, whether it be redevelopment of communities and or disaster reconstruction after major disasters, as we've seen in North Carolina. And of course, we're seeing much of that in California as well. Absolutely. So that's very important that we address that issue and make sure that golf is treated just like any other industry in this country. Yeah. The second one we'll talk about again is our turf grass research. Hopefully we'll ask for support in that. Again, that is we're looking at the Farm Bill, but that may not be the best opportunity for us to get in there with the reconciliation program in place. A bill looking to occur sometime soon. We're hoping to get something in the research and the turf industry research into that new bill. So again, Other things that we may be adding to this list maybe we'll have a position on daylight saving time or
All right.
standard time. We don't know yet. We have surveying our members, and hopefully, if you have not, we encourage everyone to take that survey that the World Golf Foundation AGIC has put out there, because that information helps us understand what is our position on daylight savings time or standard time, or should we keep the clock changing every year. So again, that information will help us. So we hope members will take the time and take that survey, because that information is very valuable to us. And the last one, still working with the architect community on the Birdie Act, and looking at how do we protect our golf course owners and operators and the architects' intellectual property and trademark. So again, we're working that one. Whether or not it'll be ready to make an issue on the Hill is to be determined. But again, and then the last day on Friday, the second, we'll have what is called the community project work. Mm-hmm. That we have about 200 people will go out and plant flowers, trees, shrubs, clean up, all kinds of ground maintenance work this year. The sites are still being decided, worked on. Hava McKeel with the GSAA and her team are working on the site planning for that. And so we'll have more information coming on that very soon.
Well, no, it's going to be a very useful, productive, and really kind of a joyous day for golf. Really, it's a time every year where golf gets to really talk about itself in no uncertain terms. So it's going to be a very useful day, productive day. And tell me once again what those days are and who to get in touch with to register.
Yeah, you register at the coalition website at golfcoalition.org. You can register there. And it's April 30th through May the 2nd.
April 30th through May the 2nd. Outstanding.
April 30th to May the 2nd. And to move on, other issues that right there is working that we're having to look at and work. We've worked on this one for a few years, working with Cazenovia Golf Course lawsuit.
This is an interesting one. This is a really interesting one to me.
Yeah, it's been unfortunately, this is a challenge with the Eric golf balls. And the Cazenovia Golf Course has filed, they defended their lawsuit and won in the first. They lost in the first initial trial, but then they appealed it and they won their appeal. And now the plaintiff has refiled an appeal that is now in the Court of Appeals and will be heard on March the 12th. They're in New York because we believe that errant golf balls is inherent in our industry, and we believe that that individuals have assumption of risk when they participate in any type of sports, and golf is no exclusion from that. So again, we're positively hopeful, if you will, that we'll have a positive outcome of that one. But if in fact should the Cazenovia lose this case, it would be referred back to a jury trial before the Supreme Court. So more on that's coming.
And again, just for guys like me who are just interested in to go out and play golf for something like this, is this something that occurs on a regular basis? And for the first question, the second question is, if this were to go one way or the other, you mentioned the Supreme Court. Does it become literally a federal case if we get out of here with a decision?
Yeah, that would be a state. It would be actually that's a Madison County Supreme Court is where it would go to. Okay. But the question, it becomes a federal issue. No. However, we found in other times that even in this case, when they look at in these trials as they putting together their position, what's precedence? And if in fact the assumption of risk doctrine is not considered a factor in this case, then the concern, of course, is whether or not the assumption of risk doctrine is at risk in other states if similar cases come before the courts. So again, there's some concerns with this trial, not because of what happens for this golf course in the state of New York, but how other courts in other states can use the outcome of this case in their future cases. Because errant golf balls, we see a good number of incidents occur with that. Most of the time, this one is kind of unique because it's a golfer who injured another golfer while playing golf.
Right.
So the golfer was struck by a golfer off the tee. He hit the ball, pulls it, hooks it left, and goes into adjacent fairway. And that was another thing of this course is that
The layout of
part
the
of the
course
plaintiff's
itself.
part of the plaintiff's argument was because it's parallel fairways,
Yeah.
that the golf course or should have some type of barrier between the two
Right.
two fairways. And of course, that we're very opposed to, because the kind of just the cost of it, but the aesthetics of putting our netting systems that we've seen on the playing field, on the course, on the golf course, between fairways would be not only expensive but quite disruptive to the aesthetics effect of the golf course.
Interesting. But this is going to be a very interesting case. I'm sure that the entire industry will be watching it to some extent. So thank you for your update on that. And you and President Jay Karen will, of course, keep us updated
Yeah, we look
as
forward to that. Yeah.
yes, as events occur. We'll be getting some more news from them. So we're going to take a quick break right here. We'll come back with another case that we have with some very interesting news from some folks here in Maryland, in my neck of the woods. It's going to be great stuff. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come right back with more of the advocacy angle with Ronnie Miles and Michael Williams. See you in a minute. Welcome back to the NGCOA Advocacy Angle. I'm your host, Michael Williams, along with our host, Ronnie Miles. And today we're going to talk about something really interesting, which is garnering a lot of attention right now. It's it's HB 874, the Property Tax Special Use Assessment of Country Clubs and Golf Courses repeal. This is a bill that would remove the current special property tax assessment rate that golf courses pay. This is something that truly affects what golf courses do and what golfers will do in that. So to talk some more to us about this is Luke O'Boyle. I apologize. Luke O'Boyle is the general manager and chief executive of the Chevy Chase Club in my hometown, Chevy Chase, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Tiffany Harvey, who's the principal at the Cornerstone Golf Government Affairs and also a lobbyist for the Coalition of Maryland Golf Courses. Welcome to both of you. And I will say my humble welcomes and let Ronnie take over from here because he has a lot of questions for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Great. Thank you.
Well, again, Luke, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, this is a very important issue, not only just the golf courses in Maryland, but again, when we've seen this so many times, such as in California, this is impacting, can have an impact beyond the borders of Maryland. So again, thank you, Tiffany, especially to you and Todd. I'd like to thank you. I had a chance to view the hearing, and I thought you and Todd did a great job at the hearing, testifying in supporting the golf industry there in Maryland. So thank you again very much for that.
It's our pleasure to represent you all. Thank you.
Yeah. Luke, if you would, let's start out just by giving our listeners a little bit more on HB 874 and what it is and what impact it would have to the golf industry there in Maryland.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so from a big picture standpoint, golf courses, private clubs, and privately owned public golf courses in Maryland have enjoyed what I would characterize as kind of a green space tax, preferential tax treatment for the better part of, I think, about 2 decades. And that was really done in recognition of preserving the green space that these golf courses occupy, and also recognizing that they're not, fully subscribed, developed spaces and businesses, generating a lot of tax revenue. And so from the perspective of the private courses and the private clubs, it has been a meaningful opportunity to compete in the recreation kind of area, and has been beneficial, obviously, to the golf courses, but we think very much to the communities around us as well. The mere presence of a golf course is adding value to the homes that adjoin our properties and increasing their tax bills, and generally allowing small businesses throughout the state to survive at a time during COVID, at a time going back to the 08-09 recession, when things became very competitive. So I think had we been paying highest and best use taxes, which this bill proposes to apply to us, we would see a very different landscape in terms of Maryland golf course, the number of Maryland golf courses currently.
Thanks, Luke. Tiffany, at the hearing, would you like to share a little bit about maybe some takeaways that you took away from the hearing? What was the sense you felt from the members there of the House and Ways Committee following the hearing?
So one of the things I think is really helpful, and we touched on it a little bit already, the committee had some knowledge of the history of this issue. And so they were kind of aware of the reason and rationale behind the special assessment that golf courses are given, and that status has been in since 2002. And so some folks kind of knew that already, which was helpful to us because it is connected to the long history of Maryland's golf community and why it's so important in preserving these recreational spaces, and the importance of that. So I think having some folks know that and know a little bit about who we are already, I think is really helpful. The other thing that I think was important that came up is the community impact that was referenced, right? And so I think folks kind of understood, if you lose these golf courses, then you lose some of the community service work that's being done there. You lose some of the exposure and inclusivity work that's being done there. You lose programs, or you could potentially lose programs like First Tee or like Youth on Course, and the exposure and what that does and has done for tens of thousands of kids in Maryland, I think is a really important story, and making sure folks understand the Evans Scholars and those types of things, and the impact of that. So I think telling a story that's much wider than just the idea of kind of like elite golf courses who keep people out. There's actually a story of bringing people in. And I think that was the story that we got to help tell a little bit at the hearing.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that one of the members of the Ways and Means really drilled down and talked about the limited impact revenue generated from this would really contribute to the overall financial health of the state and to the communities that may be recipients of it. But so I thought that was a great comment made about the value of changing this assessment doesn't really provide the state the kind of revenue they think is going to be difference changing. So again, it was good work, and I thank you again for that. Obviously, since this bill was filed, Luke, the golf community has come together and formed a coalition. Can you tell me a little bit about the coalition?
Sure. So we are currently the Coalition of Maryland Golf Courses. And so the golf course community in Maryland has seen this bill come up, I think 4 times in the last 7 years, 2018, 2019. In 2021, the legislature actually raised taxes on private golf courses in Maryland. Some of that increase has yet to take effect. And now they're coming back again in 2025 and wanting to increase the rates a second time in the last 4 or 5 years. So while the original rate was in place for a long time, we had already moved the rate forward in the eyes of both the clubs and golf courses and state just 4 years ago. So the coalition got together this time really to broaden, I think, the representation throughout the state. Bills had been targeted in the past to the more affluent communities like Montgomery County, where this bill does not discriminate by county. It's applied statewide. So reaching out to all of the various golf course constituents, I think, has been valuable to our cause.
And you have obviously you have a good representation from all the associations. And I think one of those you have is the Maryland Golf Association. And I recall a few years ago in California, a similar issue came up there in trying to remove the special tax assessment that golf courses were receiving in California. And the Southern California Golf Association, along with others, created this coalition that really worked to stop that bill. And one of the big impactors in that one, the outcomes of that was really the Golf Association got their golfers involved. And so what we saw was the groundswell of the golfers letting their representatives know the impact of this change, this bill would have on their quality of life, their ability to participate in the game they love, and the cost of participating in the game they love. So again, found it very effective to engage with our golfers. and we found the associations is a great avenue to do that. And it was great to see the Maryland Golf Association is front and center in your coalition, which is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely consider that a tool in the toolbox, and we'll use that if necessary. So.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand. When we go, Tiffany, from as moving forward, what is the coalition's next step? Where did we see the coalition going next with this lobbying to ensure that this bill doesn't even come out of committee? I don't know when that'll happen.
Yeah.
But what do you see happening next?
So a couple things happening next. One is to remind committee members as they kind of deliberate on the issue post-hearing, the amount of voices that showed up. And so I want to just spend a quick second on that because I think Luke touched on it. But the voice of the golf associations kind of in Maryland that have come out and submitted written testimony in very short order, I think was tremendous. And so we were able to submit a story in the form of written testimony to members as well. From various different golf courses. And so I think having that kind of variety of voices and on the record for members to consider, we'll be reminding them to just kind of skim through that testimony. Beyond that, kind of the next piece of this to keep it in committee is we'll want to continue that story with members as we're engaging them throughout the next 45 days or so. So a couple of points that are worth noting here in this conversation. So the Maryland General Assembly has what's called sine die on April 7th. So midnight on April 7th, any bill that's not gotten through and moved through both chambers and returned, that bill is now dead, right? But that means it got out of committee and started moving and was able to get through the others. So we're trying to stop it in the Ways and Means Committee. So from our perspective, the other date of importance is what's we call crossover. So crossover is March 17th. Any bill that doesn't come out of committee has a little bit more of a difficult time to start moving. And then because it has to go through the rules process, it has to be released. And so there's some procedural elements that have to be kind of leveraged to get a bill moving and going forward. Now, it's not a hard thing if there's the will of the body to kind of move it, which is why we want to keep this committee kind of focused on what we think are the negative impacts of passage of this bill. So there's a couple of things that could happen in committee. The bill could be kind of brought to a vote, in which we've asked if it's brought to a vote, then it would be, we've requested an unfavorable committee report, which means the committee doesn't report it out favorably, which means it doesn't get to the next couple phases. The chair of the committee could keep it and hold it and not bring it to a vote, which is another thing that would be really helpful for us. The third option, which is probably the least likely option, is the bill would be withdrawn by the sponsor. But I don't expect that would happen here. So that's kind of the procedural ways. And so we'll keep working to get the bill either held and not voted or placed on a voting list, or if the committee feels like they do want to vote the bill, we'll be working towards an unfavorable vote with members of the committee, committee leadership, et cetera.
Good. Well, again, a lot of work. You've done a lot of work to be done. And I thank you both for that work you are doing on behalf of the golf course, the owners and operators in the state of Maryland. Luke, what can our listeners do to engage, be part of the coalition and help the coalition complete its work? What do you need from us?
Sure. First I would just say, figure out what this will cost you as an operator on your particular course in Maryland, so that you have an understanding of the financial impact. And then second, Ned Graff is the current president of the Mid-Atlantic Club Managers Association, and he's taking the lead with the Coalition of Maryland Golf Courses. And so he can be reached via email at nedgraff@pgatourtpc.com. But he would be a great point of contact. The more golf courses that participate, obviously we're able to spread the cost of our lobbying efforts over more people, and so it'd be less impactful to each individual participant.
Well, it's good to know, and we will help you that, and we will make sure that our members know how to get in touch with Ned. Michael,
as a normal golfer, just a guy who golfs, the bottom line for this is, if this passes, golf is going to be more expensive, and some people will have to pay more. And other places will simply have to close. They will really not be able to do that. So that's really the bottom line. What we're talking about here is availability of this great game to a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah. Just want to
Thank you again, both of you, for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
thank
having
you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
me. You all take care.
Yeah, I think that was very interesting. Very fascinating to get to know what these guys are doing in an advocacy role, really, for the game itself and for the players. This is something that is very invisible to the market, but to the person who's there on a day-to-day basis, this is front and center in terms of their attention and the type of thing that really impacts how we're going to experience the game going forward, don't you think?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And, as I noted, California has success, but I don't know of many states where they're taxed the same way. I think Maryland and California, I haven't heard of other states having that special assessment. Now, some golf courses, there's a number of golf courses in a number of states that the golf course is assessed as a farmland.
Hmm.
Okay, so it does get a special rate, but again, it's not a special. It is just identified as farmland.
Yeah.
So in New York, you have some of those.
Yeah.
And that's a county by county matter. But yeah, we have a number of golf courses that their golf course is assessed based on farmland assessment rates.
Yeah. It's a great country and it's a great game. And,
Right.
so many legal things to think about and worry about. You'll always have a job with us, Ronnie. We can make sure of that. You'll always have something.
It keeps the heart pumping.
It certainly does. Well, with that, I think that's just about a wrap for this week for our first edition of NGCOA Advocacy Angle. Thanks so much to our guests, Luke O'Boyle and Tiffany Harvey. And thank you, Ronnie, for as always, being a tremendous asset to the institution, to the NGCOA. We really thank you. And we'll be back with our next episode, which is going to be right up on National Golf Day. So we're really looking forward to that one and having some great guests for you. So in the meantime, for Mike Williams, for Ronnie Miles, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Michael.